Marta, let's start by you telling me about your story and how you got to where you are today.
I've been working on innovation and technology, mostly for entrepreneurship for the last few years, and with a big international focus. So a lot of my work was in Africa and Asia. And there are two things that I learned working at the World Bank. One is most of the interventions we were missing were actually behavioral. So we would build hospitals, but people wouldn't come. We would deliver tuberculosis medicine for people, but they wouldn't take them. They wouldn't take them because it was stigmatized, or they didn't want to go to a doctor. So understanding that behavior change is actually one of the key missing points in delivering health, healthcare and holistic health, including, in America, where most of the people after a heart attack don't take their medications a year after, just because it's hard and stigmatized, up to tuberculosis in India and Africa. That was one of the key moments when I was like, okay, I want to work on behavior change. We need something beyond access. We don't need only medications and doctors and hospitals, which are incredibly important, but we need to work with people on how to use them. So that was one. And the second was seeing the power of technology in general in delivering or in extending access to emerging communities. So looking at populations that for some reason don't have access, whether once again, it's remote village in India or low income populations in America. For some reason, those people basically don't have the same access to healthcare in general, and then how generally technology can help with that. And then you have dozens of examples. We can talk whether they are good or not, but we can use mobile phones, and often, once again, in low-income settings internationally, it's very old Nokia phones that are going to help women manage their pregnancies and adjust their diets and lifestyle in order to have healthy pregnancy. Drones delivering blood samples in Rwanda. So those two inspirations basically led me to go to Harvard and Stanford, and I spent 4 years at Harvard and Stanford focusing on this specific questions. How can we use behavior change and technology to improve healthcare outcomes? And specifically over the last year and a half, I've been leading research at Stanford focused specifically on digital therapeutics. So this new product category that is software, but can be a medicine, can be prescribed, and can actually, as we said, diagnose, treat, or manage conditions. And very recently, I've been helping to lead very early stage startup called Reverie Health that provides Alexa-based solutions for chronic disease and insomnia.
I would like to start by asking you if you could just cite some examples of digital therapeutics that you know about, that you've worked on, and that you feel like have a lot of potential to truly create change.
I think when you look at the market, because the space is so new and emerging and interesting, you see so many different things that are within this digital therapeutics category. So the definition is really broad, both in terms of what does it mean commercially, who do I sell to, but also what do I do? So as we mentioned, digital therapeutics has a spectrum of what they can focus on, from diagnosing to treating to managing a condition. I'm going to give an example in each. You can think about Cognoa. It's a company, it's a very early stage startup in Silicon Valley. Basically, what Cognoa does is that they use AI to diagnose early autism in kids younger than 4 years old. And why it's important is because normally we take forever, and forever might mean years, to diagnose autism with really very young kids, mostly because it's hard to know whether you should be worried or not as a parent. And then once you know, you wait for a year and a half to get a meeting with a specialist. And then at some point, we are just basically missing that crucial time when you can reprogram kids' brains. So Cognoa is incredible in that it basically gives you a software that is AI-based and can diagnose whether kids is responding to emotional clues, and based on that, whether they develop some specific neural connection in brain. So that's on the diagnose side. And there are many others. on the disease management, which is, I think, where today DTx has the most commercial success. An example would be Livongo or Virta, which basically helps you manage chronic disease. Imagine you have a diabetes, and a big part of getting better, not treatment, but getting better, is changing your diet, changing your lifestyle, exercising more. And Virta would basically provide, among others, a coach that will help you adjust the diet and your exercise schedule to your routine, and also help you basically be accountable. And Virta has incredible numbers in terms of diabetes reversal. So what they realize is that after a year, I have to check that number, but I think it's beyond 60% of their patients, might even be higher, reverse type 2 diabetes, which once again, incredible results with no medication and no specific treatment per se, but a lot of those like lifestyle and behavior changes. And then you also have treatments. So for example, Akili is developed and already got approved by FDA, a game that helps kids treat ADHD. And the game basically looks like a game. You play a game, but it helps you focus. And once again, it changed neural connections based on many years of clinical trials. Wonderful company.
I'm wondering, for everything that you referenced, do all of these types of products within each category have to be clinically validated? Is that what brings them into the category of digital therapeutics?
Yes, that's what digital therapeutics community claims, and I strongly support that the difference between digital therapeutics and digital health, that we are actually clinically validated and clinically approved. There is evidence behind it. So digital health can be anything from Skype with your doctor, but digital therapeutics really should have clinical trials behind it the same way pharma does, because it is supposed to improve health outcomes. So we have to be as rigorous as pharma is, in a completely different way, because it's a completely different product. But yes, this evidence-based is incredibly important.
Does it seem as though digital medicine could be a threat to pharma? And so the products that are really getting through are the ones that could potentially be used alongside medication. Feels as though maybe the right move is just to kind of almost start with more technologies that are focused on management and maybe diagnostic before kind of moving into the real impact of technology, which could be actually used to replace the drug.
So that's a really good question. One of the biggest questions in the industry too. I personally am a strong believer that digital therapeutics are not, or is not going to be a replacement for pharma. There is a reason why we have penicillin. We still need penicillin. Software is not going to be a penicillin. I think we need holistic health with many different ways of helping people grow and get healthier. And pharma and medicines will be a part of this at the place where you need them. And then at the same time, many people don't take those pills. So a software can help you, remind you, or actually change your behavior in order to take those pills, or in order to exercise, or in order to change your diet, or in order to diagnose better and have better data flow with your doctor. So that if you have an epilepsy, for example, you know how often you had seizures, and your doctor can respond to your medicines faster. Last year I helped develop a product on epilepsy for epilepsy patients, where basically the main problem is that up to 30% of epilepsy patients don't respond to the drugs that they are being given. And many more might need to change a drug because they might not be on the right one. But it's incredibly difficult to track the seizures, both for the patient and for the doctor, because your cognitive abilities are decreased. And when it's seizure, there's so many more important things than like track your seizure and write a diary. So basically there was an app developed that helps you track, as a patient, helps you track the seizures, but then has a dashboard for a doctor that tells the doctor what's happening with you. Are you responding to drugs or not? And now you can imagine a universe in which pharma plays a role in this. And actually it's already happening. So several of pharma companies, Sanofi, Novo Nordisk, and a few others, basically partnering up with different digital therapeutics in order to either build so-called digital companions. So you take a drug and next to it, you have a software, or to support digital therapeutics, because they also know that's where the future goes. So I am a strong believer that pharma is a partner And I hope that's where we are going to go as a market. And as I said, pharma is already getting on board.
I'm really happy to hear that, because I think ultimately, in order for us to move in this direction, we need all stakeholders to feel good and to feel like we're winning, right? If we truly want to make this system patient-centered, we have to think about empowerment on all levels, especially with the players who are right now, very like the heavy hitters in the space. And so I'm really happy to hear that, because also they have the biggest bank accounts. And if they can fund these activities, then that's really what we need.
Yeah, there are a lot of benefits in working with pharma, including pharma in digital therapeutics. As you mentioned, budgets are one of them, but also they know how to do clinical trials. They've done it forever. They have access to, they know how to sell, they know how to activate doctors. They have relationships with those doctors, how to activate doctors and how to activate populations. So make that doctor actually prescribe your digital therapeutic, and then that person actually download an app and use it is one of the biggest challenges. So if we can collaborate with pharma, once again, not easy because a different market, but still there's a lot of lessons.
I love that. I think collaboration in healthcare is actually what is missing. So if we can get to that point, that's actually how we'll get to the 2.0. Marta is clearly at the forefront of the digital therapeutics movement. What really stood out for me in our conversation is that input from all stakeholders, including pharmaceutical companies, payers, clinicians, patients, and behavioral scientists, will be critical to the success of this field and its potential to democratize healthcare. The rise of digital therapeutics is intended to help us all envision a better healthcare system for the digital age, one that encompasses mental health care and prevention. If you like what you see, please follow along our journey. Thank you.